Love it. Hello. Welcome to episode 7 of the Supernova Sisters, Physicians in Motion. Do let us know in comments where you're joining in from. I'm the glitter practitioner, #Physessence, and my Supernova sister, over to you.
Good morning, Nuping. Good afternoon in the UK. We're so excited to be here. I'm Dr. Diana Londoño. I'm the founder of physiciancoachsupport.com, which is a free and confidential platform for any physician to get support. You know, times are tough. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of challenges. Holidays can be triggering. But today we are excited because it is Giving Tuesday in the US, which is, giving to nonprofits. But we really want to talk about giving to the mothers today. It's such important, women in our lives, people we know that do so much. So we have our guest today, Dr. Jess Daigle, who is going to talk to us about all this important stuff about moms and mom care. She's a pediatrician. She is a Nicu and Pediatric Hospitalist in Atlanta. And she really does this one-on-one personalized care for the mom and the baby in the 4th trimester. That really critical time where we feel overwhelmed, where we are so tired, where we just really need that extra support. And she does this on a one-on-one basis. She'll tell us all about it. But there's breastfeeding support. If your kids are in the NICU, she helps you with the transition and the worries and the stressors. So she really is really revolutionizing how to give care to moms in these difficult times. So we are excited to bring her on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is such an important time. Here she is. It's too late. There you go.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I was just saying before when I was messaging you as well earlier, this time in a woman's life is so crucial. As a GP in the UK, family physician, the antenatal care is really taken over by midwives, essentially, but the postnatal care can be so fragmented. And I used to run specialist clinics, mum and baby, and just have extended time. So important, because even if you've had a baby, you're not first time mum, even so, the hormones, everything else juggling around, so important to have that space. So tell everybody what you do. I'm dying to hear everything.
Hi, so thank you again. And so Dr. Londoño has already told you a little bit about my credentials, but I'm Jess Daigle, a pediatrician out of Atlanta. And I've been working in the NICU and nursery, and I do travel medicine. So I work in other states. I have my license in 8 states, actually. And I've always had a passion for moms and babies. But it started off with just babies, to be honest, because from young, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I knew that was just always in me. I read this book by this family, which was their biography of them having a preterm infant. And I read it and I was like, I need to save the babies, So I went forward with the intention of being a NICU doctor because to me, that was like the most special population at that time. You're already just emerging, so fragile and so much struggle. But it wasn't until I had I had a loss at 20 weeks. Oh, it's okay though. Thank you. Had a loss. And then after that, I had 2 preterm infants. I had an infant at 31 weeks and then one at 36 weeks. And that's when my perspective as a mom, it became better and it enhanced my role as a physician. I always felt like I was a caring physician, but you rarely can't speak to what you haven't experienced. And so while it came off just as like, I care, but I don't really understand your struggle. But once I had my own preterm infants, I realized the struggle and the guilt and the overwhelm and the decision-making and the fear that families have. And not even if it's not a preterm infant, but just having a new baby is overwhelming as you've mentioned. And we have so much, we don't really, I like to say, motherhood is on the job training because if you think of any other job in the world, like nobody just lets you go and you just do it. Like you have to be kind of monitored a little bit. They're going to test you and make sure you have some oversight, right? But when you have a baby, you pretty much are the mom, and that is you're expected to carry on and get things done. And I love what you said, Nupi, about like the extended time in your care. So when I was in residency, I used to always get fussed at because I took too long in clinic. I would always take too long in the rooms. I never did like 10 minutes. I would be in there like 30 minutes and they'd be knocking on the door. You're taking too long. You're taking too long. And that always frustrated me. And so I knew early on, I was like, I cannot work in clinic because I could only see 10 people a day probably, because you need to take that time with people. And some things really can't be handled in 5 and 10 minutes, right? And so that's why I became a hospitalist, because I was like, if I want to sit on the mom's bed and we powwow it out for 45 minutes, unless there's an emergency happening somewhere else, I really do otherwise have the time to do it because it's my time and I can speak how I desire. So, and I've loved living that life. But I still missed the connection once they left the hospital. So I was like, how can I merge the two things I love? Like having that connection, that follow up with the families during the difficult time, but still help them in the hospital too. And then that's how the Mom and Me MD came about. Because I was like, well, who's to say I can't create the type of care that I want to provide, right? Like, and this year for me, if you've watched me posting, I've said this year for me was the year of the pivot, because my whole mind frame about what is possible changed. Like I realized that we put a lot of limits on ourselves, and that's even in motherhood. There's so many like right ways to do things. And I feel like I'm kind of a little bit in the middle. Like I'm conservative on some things and relaxed on some things. And it really just depends for me on like the safety issue. But I like to reassure my moms that a lot of what we're doing is that on the job training. Like even as a physician, as a pediatrician, I've learned over time too. And my perspective on managing certain things has changed or improved. So that's really what it is. I really want, when a family works with me, to feel like they're confident, they're competent, they can be calm, because it's on the job training, because it's a process. Like you're never going to just have one moment. Like having a child is not one moment, it's moments, right? Like you have something you're worried about when they're 1 day old, when they're 1 month old, when they're 1 year old, when they're 10 years old. I'm 38. My mom still worries about me. She still wants to know where I'm going. Why are you going to get gas this late at night? Why you didn't get it early in the day? You see, it doesn't change, right? You're once you're a mom, you are forever a mom. And so it's about learning how to deal with the transitions and the challenges and the emotions that will always be there. Just like you, Diana, you're dealing with a child that was vomiting. Like this is part of parenting, right? And we still show up and we still have responsibility and other things. And so I think we don't do enough to normalize that there's ups and downs in this motherhood thing. And part of that is choosing us and taking care of ourselves so that way we can give the best to our kids. One of my friend who is a mental health therapist, she said the best thing that we can give our children is to be mentally well. And I thought, how good is that, right? Because we scramble to do all these other things like feed them and clothe them and provide a shelter, and all that's important. But our kids are sharp. That's why I like pediatrics. They're paying attention, and they're looking at how we're living our lives and how we're allowing stress to take us over or not, and how are we putting boundaries and importance on ourselves. And so I've become more aware of how I manage my life because I know my children are watching, and part of that is taking care of myself. And we talk about it. I talk about that with my children. Like, hey, I need a moment when I come from work, just give me 15, 20 minutes, whatever, to decompress. And then we can talk about like what's happening in your day. They get a moment to decompress too. And so all of that's important.
Brilliant. I love it. Everything that you have said is just, I'm literally nodding like one of those things you put in the car. But a couple of things I think is really crucial what you pointed out. As physicians, particularly, we go through med school training, junior doctor, all of that stuff. And, you do have many hats. And then all of a sudden, I'm a specialist in child health, pediatrician, women's health, and I love peds. And I remember the night before I was having a C-section for twins. My twins are now 14. And I literally just anxious as hell, calling my mum going, oh my God, I don't even know how to wash a baby. What do I do? And it was like, just because you're a physician and a child specialist doesn't mean automatically I know what, how I'm going to be as a mum. And yes, my own upbringing is part of that. But I remember that first year, and granted, they were twins, but I knew no different. So for me, I just got on with it. But looking back, it was just rabbit in headlights. And the only way I could make sense of my new world was have everything so regimental. I had a flip chart to remind me which boob I'd breastfed from and all of this. And woe betide if my husband did not write it down. He was dead, seriously. But it's how we bring that sort of I need to know back in. And just because you're a doctor doesn't mean this comes automatically. And I think that's for everybody, actually.
Yeah,
until you've stepped into this role. You're so right what you said. You're the mum, you're the mummy, the buck stops with you, especially in those first few years. And that's no disrespect to amazing dads out there, by the way.
Yeah.
But there are certain needs that only you can provide. And the other thing that I loved what you said is absolutely, you set the tone. Very often in child behavior clinics, this is slightly older, but when I used to see mums very colicky, babies, look at what's the environment doing, because babies, children, they soak up all of this. And I'm not for 1 minute saying there are babies who have horrible reflux and colicky symptoms, but very often it's also how we handle that. That's crucial.
It is.
And I think the time spent with the mummy going, you know what, you're doing a fab job. You're doing amazing. Please do not beat yourself up if your breastfeeding's not working. It's giving that really, really, really that supportive blanket almost.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it is also, go back on however many years that our community, the way the world is now, we don't have that same network per se. And I think whatever time as a physician, clinician you can give, and if that's your specialty, I think it's absolutely vital. So it's amazing what you do. I could talk about this for hours.
I love
amazing.
I love it. I really do.
You can tell.
It just brings me joy. Go ahead, Diana.
I just love the part that you said, kind of getting rid of the limiting beliefs of how we can practice medicine in our own terms, because you really alluded to the fact that you knew it wasn't sustainable, able to really take care of moms and babies with 10 minutes. So you decided to create a practice that fit what felt right to you. And I think we're talking about like intuition. What feels wrong? What feels right? And we're listening to that nagging voice of like, this doesn't sit right. It's just, even though everybody may be doing it a certain way, it's just not the way for me. And to give the best care, I'm going to do this way. And I think we really kind of connected because of a kind of mutual kind of post talking about thinking like, what do you want? Which is kind of what you were thinking, like, no, I cannot do these 10-minute visits. No, I don't want to rush through things. I want to spend my time. And then you want to get quiet and think about it, really feel in your body like this is not right. And then just think about it, dream about it. Well, I want to do it this way. And then just follow it, no matter what people may think, like, well, you can't do that. And, these limiting beliefs, these way of thinking in a box. And this doesn't just apply to medicine, it applies to anybody or anything in life. Like, just because we do it this way, like, why? Or what if we did something different that doesn't look like everybody else or everything else, but it's going to work because you have a love, you have a passion. And then I think for you too, you like, talk about your spirituality, connecting to the higher source, and it's really coming from love.
Yeah.
From love for you, for the babies, for what you want to do. And I think when you kind of put that in, and again, this is not just for physicians, this is for anybody. We want to think about, like, what do you want? If it's not working right, the system that it's in, let's create something that works for you, that feels right. And then just, do it with passion. And it always works out when it's coming from love and not from fear, from scarcity. So just really want to bring that, because I think it applies to really anybody.
Yeah. Love that. It's true. It's really about like legacy. My mom said I was always like a pretty deep child when I was younger. So I always kind of had like these higher level thinking, but I've always wanted to live a life of purpose. That's always been important to me. I never wanted to do anything. Now, granted, there are things that are steps along the way, right? Like when I was working at Winn-Dixie when I was 17, which is a grocery store like in Louisiana, where I'm originally from. But of course, I wasn't like, I wasn't saying, oh, this is so deep, working at the grocery store, but I still approached it with understanding that I'm helping people. And so it was still that same customer service and doing things with an excellence of the fact that you're doing something as a part of like someone's life, like you're connecting, like that same older lady that comes through the line every Sunday with her bread and her whatever, like, that's mattering to her. And my attitude matters too. Like just last night, I got some food DoorDash because I didn't feel like going to pick it up. And I was nice to the lady who gave it to me. And she was like, well, I wish everyone I delivered food to had your attitude. She was like, I was like, people are just rude, unfortunately. Like, you could be nice. You could say, you know what, thank you so much for bringing this food, because you know what, I didn't have to go and do it. And yes, it may be her job, but still gratitude is important. Recognizing that you're happy that someone is doing something that's helping you, right? Even if they are being paid for it. And I just think that that's what's missing in the world today. Like, we don't have enough gratitude for others, for even ourselves. And it starts within. Like, whatever you do outside of you comes from whatever you feel within about yourself, your belief system, your core values. And I've been spending a lot more time identifying that. But back to the pivot thing was what, like, I want even moms to know that things are seasonal, right? Like right now we're heading into the winter, fall. So that's one of the things I like moms to know. It's like, it's not all going to be like this always. And sometimes that's something that they just need to hear too, like that we're in a season and enjoy and learn from that season. Cause then it'll be like something else on to enjoy. And I think if you approach life in general like that, it takes a little bit of the anxiety away. So I like to say, I like to help moms overcome or manage anxiety, because it will come. I get overwhelmed. Like, I did an assignment, a locums assignment, and I was helping a hospital out, and it was like 3 weeks. And I cried like the second and third week because I missed my kids. But I accepted that because it was authentic. And I think like people are in a rush to try to do away with their emotions about things like, oh, like, okay, I don't want to be sad. And granted, I don't think you should stay stuck there, but I think you should acknowledge, like, you know what, that did make me sad. And so I made a decision, like, I'm not going to do that long anymore. And so power came out of that. Like, I had the right to pivot and say, I don't have to sign up for those length of assignments. I have a choice. And so I want moms to have that same power, that they have a choice. And granted, everybody's situations are different. That's true. So I'm not going to be naive and say it may be more financially feasible for some people to do things than others. That's very true. But I don't think that we have to stay stuck. I think even with little things, we can make small changes that help us get to the place where we want to be.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think it's give yourself permission. And that's the key here, because once you are, rather than just sort of, I need to do this, just take even just a few minutes to zone in, tune in, and give yourself that permission to do so.
Yeah.
And that's what Diana and I, this is why we started this actually. Yeah. But it's the same thing. Give yourself permission, because you are worth that, and your needs matter. Full stop. End of. That's exactly it. And everything, you can slow things down. Yes. And it's staying in that respond mode, and then take a breath. It's part of my F list. F off, focus and breathe. Yes.
It's important to know, like, this too shall pass is really what we're saying. Like,
precisely.
Time, like whether you're in an assignment for 3 weeks, it's gonna pass. Whether like those long nights of the baby's up all night breastfeeding or bottle feeding, that's gonna pass. Toddler years when they're on the floor kicking, that's gonna pass. Like all these things are gonna pass, and you're not gonna be stuck there forever. And then maybe you're gonna be like, oh, I wish it was like when they're little and then they weren't moving. Now we have so it's like, instead of being stuck in the past, the future, like, be present and know that like, it's gonna be over at some point. It's not gonna last forever. And we gotta, not stuff down the emotions. Like, I'm sad. Oh, I can't be sad. I should be grateful. No, you can be grateful about everything, but I am sad. I am missing my children. Yeah. I process it. I'm gonna cry it out. But then, I'm gonna learn something. What's the learning lesson here? Like this growth mindset. I'm not going to do that again. Like, not again. Thank you. And I'm going to do something different. And instead of like beating yourself up, like, oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, why did you do this? What kind of mother are you? No. Okay, you learned something. I'm not going to do that again. So being compassionate with ourselves when we make any decision, you had the best tools at that moment. You thought it'd be a good assignment, but now you said, no, it's not for me. I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to have those feelings, feel them, not repress them, not beat them up, and then grow and learn and then, keep moving on. So I think that was important, that we got to do that for ourselves.
Yeah. And it's a cycle. It's a repeated thing. I think sometimes we want things to be like done. We want to be done away with things, right? Like, and it's not like that. As long as you're living, you're going to have new experiences that you'll have to process, and you have emotions that you have to process, and decisions that you have. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And if we just realize that this is part of the life, a lot of that takes away, because a lot of the anxiety comes from trying to control something that is natural or to be expected, right? Like being frustrated. I wrote a post a while ago that said we're dynamic. We're one thing, and you don't have to be all or none. Like you could be happy and sad. Like you could be grateful and disappointed. You can be, we're not like, if you're grateful, then you're not going to be disappointed. That's not true. Like we're dynamic creatures. We're up and down and moving and evolving. And I think if people just take that a note, then that takes away some of the, and I've even taught my kids to do that. Like even my son, I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, even with dealing with each other, because, the toddler gets on his nerves. So I think Liam, just do like this, and he does it. He visibly does. He goes, Avery, like, it's so fun to watch, but it does help, because
it's
otherwise
so
it's like, Avery, I just said, but now he's like, okay, could you please not take my iPad again?
I love it, but it's good behavior, isn't it?
Yeah, but she's there to stay. Like
I love it
with each other, so you got to learn how to manage. My husband always says you're learning for how to deal with your future wife.
Oh, it's brilliant. But just to come back when you were talking, Diana, and yourself, Jess, I think crucially as well, it's yes, this too shall pass. Yes, we can be observers, but, and I think because I've worked in a inner city practice where perhaps the support networks they're just not there. I think if you're as a mum, if you are feeling a certain way, please don't feel that you have to keep bottling it in and that you're not doing a great job, because you are. You truly are. And just reach out for help, support, talk to somebody. Don't feel, and it's talking to the right people as well. You can tune in, which is why somebody like you, Jess, or your GP, at these key times, postnatal check, for example, in the UK, we do this at 8 weeks. Please just, what? It's I'm not okay. And it's perfectly fine to be. Everybody feels this way. It is normal. However, I want to really make sure that I don't want people out there thinking, okay, it's still normal. And I'm like, no, just have a chat. Just have a chat with us. And we can support you. Just, even just having a conversation and another person going, you know what? Yeah, I remember that. It was totally crap. Oh my God, I struggled. Just that in itself just makes you go, oh, thank God for that. Yeah, it's true. And then, share stories left, right, and center. It's true.
It's true. That's why our stories do matter. And I've had families in the NICU who tell me that it was me telling them that I had NICU babies that really encouraged them in their journey, because they felt like it was coming from another layer, not just
you got it.
She's the doctor. I was like, she's been there. And I remember crying when I had to leave my son, because we had to go on a trip, and I was like, he's gonna know that I didn't come visit him for 5 days, and so I get it when a family is struggling, when their moms have to go back to work and they're worried about, well, I'm not sitting at the bedside of my NICU baby for hours, and people give moms a hard time. So I'm a hardcore mom champion. Like if I hear anybody giving moms a hard time, the bulldog in me comes out, because do that. You don't know the struggle these families have, the decisions they have to make to go back to work to feed that same baby that's going to eventually come home. Like it's hard out here, and they need compassion, like you said, and to know they're not alone and that there are resources. And that's why I did my thing, because I want to be able to sit there and say that. And that's my first thing when a mom contacts me virtually or whatever. My first thing is to tell them to breathe. And I say, you're doing great. Like, this is all like normal. This is to be expected. And then I ask them, what do you want? Because a lot of times people don't ask people what they want or what they hope for. They just assume. I don't assume anything. I told Russ this yesterday. Like, I don't make assumptions. Everybody don't have the same goals and don't have the same situation. So what's your situation and what's your goal? And let's see if we can come up with a plan that's successful for you, because in your situation. And that's what helps these moms.
Yeah, I love that. And I love
Beautiful.
that you use, I mean, like we use our, let's say our struggles, our difficult times, you know, when you had your babies in the NICU, and then we create, and you created something that you hoped you had for yourself so you can help others. And you really lived it. We're not just coming out and saying, oh, that would be nice to help them, but like you lived it. And then the families identify. Just like Nupi and I, like we lived through burnout twice. We're not just talking about it like, oh yeah, I think we know the answer or what could help. We have gone through it, you know, and that's why we're trying to give tools to others. Yeah, like, you know, Nupi with her coaching to help them, because she knows this F list, what has helped her get through it. You know, we build physician coach support to help others, you know, just be a support place to start. You know, a starting point to then get to a better place where you make your action plan to take care of you. You got to start somewhere. And when you keep doing the same thing, nothing's going to change. So when we have our own struggles, when we have difficult times, then use that to give to others. And so important to have this one-on-one. You know, what a blessing to be able to put a consult with you and be like, you know, talk for an hour about breastfeeding, because it's not easy. You know, I breastfed for a year and a half my children, but it's not easy. You know, even the latch, the problems that arise, then you get, you know, clogged ducts and all these things along the way. And it's a full-time job. You have to be so hydrated. You have to drink like a camel. I mean, it's like, it's a full-time job. So to have the support, not just the first 2 days, but like maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months, or like, when do you want to stop? Or whatever it is. There's so many points where you need support, and you need somebody to align with your goals, like you said, and not shame you. Like, you know, if you want to do it forever, that's up to you, but don't shame the mothers for the goals that they have. So just love all these things that you brought up. So important to meet people where they are, ask them what they want. And again, this is something for everybody, not just for moms or people. Like, what do you want? What are your goals? So we can move there, and we're not just like, you know, flying in the dark.
You both did that at the same time. I loved it. But yes, exactly, Diana.
Yes.
And this is, you know, you were mentioning, you know, your experience, Jess, with Nicu, and Diana, for us, you know, burnout, which was 12 years ago for me. But everything, I think it's about having that awareness and the insight, and using a position of unconditional trust, which is what a physician has. It's one of probably apart from maybe social care, there's not many other professions out there where you are granted this level of unconditional trust. You trust your doctor. And combining that then with your own lived experience, it's passing it on. So yes, you've got the medical knowledge, but it's not just that. And it's what I like to say, it's a little bit of a tagline, which is you learn, you grow, you're evolving constantly, and then pass it on. So that can be in the form of other people, if you're a clinician, or to a friend or whoever. It's not just unique to being a doctor. That for me is humanity. That's kindness. That's compassion and gratitude that you do pass it on. But yeah, no, such a wonderful, juicy conversation. We need a part 2, Jess. Seriously.
We got to tell them where to find you. Where to find you. We have so many resources. They will be in the chat notes. But where can they find you? You know, for mothers that are like, I need help. Like, I have little children. I have twins. I'm struggling with something. How can they find you?
Well, if they go to my Instagram, which is at momandme_MD, I have a link tree there that has the link. So if they would like a postpartum consultation or NICU consultation, or even just like breastfeeding, what I call breastfeeding office hours, they can reach out to me there. I even respond in my DM. So if somebody messages me and they're legit about like wanting some help, then I'm okay responding and directing them where they need to. But for just as a close up, I just want moms to know, like, you can do this. Everybody, and I always say this, like, there's been millions of moms before and there'll be millions after us. And nobody was any better than any other. And even if you have a little bit more support, a little bit more knowledge, I'm an example. I had all kinds of knowledge. I was a doctor already, but I still struggle with things like childcare and training and, worrying about leaving my baby who had to go back on the feeding tube. And so we all have lived experiences. I tell people the only thing that I might be good at is knowing when my baby is sick. Like, I can identify a sick child right off the bat. That gives me a leg up, but I still worry. Like, I still cry when my kids get sick, and they're like 9 and 4. And so I don't shame anyone for any of that. So choose you. Part of choosing you is knowing that you can be a good mom for your baby. You just have to want to do it. And then, just like anything else, that leads you to getting the help that you need, even if it's mental, physical, social, emotional. We all have levels to us, and we always can become our better selves.
Brilliant. Beautiful. I applaud you, because that was just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, we need you
We'll
back
definitely
on,
do it part
basically.
2.
Yes, we do need to have you back on for part 2. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't go anywhere. We'll come and join you in the green room as we wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Oh, wow. I could talk to her for hours. Seriously. She's adorable.
I know, it's so much support, so important not to shame others, meet people where they are, really, what do you want? I mean, not just what she did personally, but asking the moms, like, what do you want? Because it's very different what you want to do versus what I want to do and what my goal is or your goal is. It's not the same. So I love that.
Amazing.
Really, like, living with a purpose, no matter what your title, role, job is. You could be the best Winn-Dixie cashier or bag lady or physician. It's not about like you're better, have a higher purpose doing that or cleaning the bathrooms. Like, like the cleaning lady at my hospital, she like cleans with purpose and I like pride, and I love it. And those bathrooms are amazing for us, so we can have a clean bathroom. So, anything you do, live with purpose. It's beautiful. I just love that. What a great conversation.
Be true. Yeah. Be true to yourself. Tell everybody how they can get hold of you, Diana.
Yeah, so we're on LinkedIn. You can also always find the replays for this on my YouTube channel, Diana Londoño MD. You can go to Twitter or Instagram, Diana Londoño. Just reach out to me or our website, dianalondoñomd.com. And, if any of this resonates, really the purpose of this is bring positivity, light, joy. Look at all the good stuff. Look at what could be possible for you as a mom, as a physician, to not to get stuck, to really give you some hope that there's goodness out there. So that's why we're here. So reach out to me, go to physiciancoachsupport.com. If you're a physician, need any support, we're there. They're volunteers, just 7 days a week via Zoom. So come check us out. And Nupi, where can they find you?
So you can find me here on LinkedIn, The Glitter Practitioner. You can find me on a Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. GMT, which is noon Pacific Standard. I nearly said daytime. Pacific Standard Time, and that's my weekly live show, Live with the Glitter Practitioner. You can find me on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Facebook and Instagram, all as the Glitter Practitioner. And I work with female physicians, executives. If you are finding that you are frazzled and you're on this sort of stuck place of fed up, frustrated, get in touch with me, book a call. I have a coaching program, Find Your Fizz and Flourish, which is based on a framework of my F list, but everybody is unique and you might need a couple of sessions. You might just need one chat with Dr. Nupi, who knows? But please, just the whole purpose of Diana and I doing this is that your needs matter. Own your needs, protect them, and know your worth. And that's what we're here to spread. Connection, happiness, joy, light, positivity. So we hope you've enjoyed today.
And we'll see you back in 2 weeks on Tuesday morning, 7:30 Pacific time. Thank you, everybody. We will see you soon.
Bye. Bye.